Like and subscribe right now, or this will be in your bed tonight. Hello and welcome back to ProRevenge. Before we start, please scroll down and click like and subscribe. This means that you will get more videos from me. Please like and subscribe, and it will make my day. Thanks. Stay tuned in this video for the title story. Mind prick trying to take advantage of an honest mistake. Enjoy losing your phone and getting evicted. Hey all. This happened a couple summers ago, and as a generally chill, non-petty guy, it takes a lot to piss me off. This was a pretty petty way of handling it, but fuck this guy. Fair warning, this is a long one for sure. TLDR at the bottom, and I listed the sections as parts. Background. At the time, I was working in the Northeast in a seasonal job outdoors. My girlfriend and I were long distance, so we both took a few days off from work and planned for her to fly out to the nearest big city to have a relaxing, romantic vacation. At the time I had a camper van I was living out of, so the plan was just to drive the 3 hours to said big city and spend the weekend driving around and camping out. But as luck would have it, my van broke down the day before her flight was scheduled. The local mechanic needed a specific part that would take 2 days to ship to the middle of nowhere, so the van was out of the question. We were devastated. We had been planning this trip for months and couldn't get a refund on her flight, let alone get more time off from work to make it happen at a later date. So I went into full-on flexible fix-it mode. I decided I would just take a 5-hour bus ride to big city and we'd rent an Airbnb for the weekend. It would cost significantly more than our budget allowed, but I figured it was well worth it just to see my girlfriend and spend time together. So I started looking for Airbnbs and found the cheapest one I could on such short notice. We were both pretty broke at the time. The listing was pretty short and simple, just a spare room within an apartment, and it was only like $50 a night. It was just a bed and nightstand, and the listing made it very clear we were in his home and not to disturb him. It even said we couldn't use the kitchen. Fuck it, we'll only be sleeping there and gone all day anyway, I thought. I pulled the trigger and booked it for 3 nights. $150. The part where he fucked me up. Now here's the important bit. The listing stated it was a 2-person room with everything you'd need for a couple traveling. Made it very clear this was a 2-person room. However, when I booked it, I only double checked the dates and missed the drop down menu stating how many people would be staying in the room, so it defaulted to 1 person staying. I immediately messaged the guy who rented it, who I'll call host, and thanked him for letting us stay there. Us? Was all host replied. Yes sir, my girlfriend and I just booked your spare room for the weekend. Thanks again for letting us stay. It only says 1 person. Host said. Oh, sorry. I thought the listing was for a 2-person room. I said. Go and fix the booking in the app. Okay. It soon became apparent that, even though the room was listed for 2 people, it was twice the price if 2 people actually wanted to stay there. He was not particularly kind when he told me this, being very condescending and telling me I needed to make sure I fill out the forms correctly and read the damn listing. As I mentioned before, the listing was pretty clear this was a 2-person room, and there's no way 2 people sleeping in a bed equals double the cleaning cost. Now, I recognized I made a mistake and realized I didn't want to stay with this guy anyway, since he was being pretty rude and giving weird vibes in our messages. So I offered to cancel the reservation and apologized for bothering him. He proceeded to tell me to fuck off, and there's no way I'd be getting my money back for wasting his time. Then stopped responding to messages. This all went down within 10 minutes of booking this room and I was *******. This dude was absolutely misrepresenting his listing and taking advantage of the situation to get a free $150 off of me. We now couldn't stay in the room without giving him another $150. I was exceedingly respectful in my communications. I've worked in customer service for a long time and know how to be nice when someone is being an ass. I tried calling Airbnb customer service, but they just gave me a runaround and essentially told me they understood and empathized my situation, even acknowledging they can see where I made the mistake and admitting his listing was poorly worded, but there was nothing they could do if he didn't approve the refund. The revenge in 2 parts. So I sat there in my bunk, fuming. I essentially had a full 24 hours to be pissed at this guy. I chalked it up as a loss until a notification from Airbnb blinked onto my phone the next afternoon, telling me it's time to check in. Since the booking never got cancelled, the app told me host's address and gave me his phone number. I sat and stared at my phone, pondering what I could do with this information. I reread his listing and saw an interesting line at the very end of it. While you're here, do not mention you are here for Airbnb, as big city is having problems with leasing laws, and we do not want any unnecessary drama or something to that effect. I thought this was quite a strange little caveat to have on a listing, so I did a little digging. I looked up his address on Google and found it had a small architecture firm operating out of it. I called the number, curious to see who would answer. I got a nice guy named Paul. What a fucking MVP. I told Paul I was having an issue with one of the tenants at this building and asked if he was the landlord. He said he wasn't, but asked if I wanted the landlord's contact info. As a matter of fact, I think that would be very helpful. Paul also gave me host's contact info, including his email. I thanked him and hung up. After double checking the number Paul gave me matched the one Airbnb gave me, I felt the gears click into place and decided this guy had earned a good old fashioned fuck you. With his email, phone number, landlord's number, and an entire afternoon with nothing to do but wait for my girlfriend's plane to land, I'd see what mischief I could pull. Part 1. Emp. The first thing I did was look up how to spam someone's phone number. My goal was to sign him up for a few annoying newsletters and shit, but I hit the jackpot. I won't mention exactly how I did it, but I found a way to sign up his email and phone number to a couple different services. These included emergency warnings from various different state departments, ML server load testing sites, shopping newsletter, etc. The list goes on for a bit. By the end of it, I figure I had roughly 60 emails a minute going to his phone number and email. His email had a mail.university.edu at the end, so I'm betting it was his work/schooling email. I may have also posted a Craigslist M4 meter post with his phone number asking for a discreet, dominating text encounter. I love to RP as an innocent, hard to get straight guy. Make me submit and I'm yours. Fuck you host. I hope every perv in the tri-state area sent you a dick pic. Part 2. Badass landlord. Next on my mission to ruin host's day, I called his landlord. This guy was a fucking hero. The phone rang a few times before the fucking thickest Boston accent I've ever heard answered with a gruff hello. I told him I was having a bit of an issue with one of his tenants. Host at insert address here. He asked me what the issue was, and I proceeded to tell him about the Airbnb listing. He stopped me. No, I don't use any of those apps and shit. Yes sir, I understand, but it looks like host is using those apps to book out your room. I said. Landlord was big mad. He started huffing and puffing into the phone. What? I told that guy to not do that after the last time we had an issue with this. He swore he'd never use those damn apps again. Oh. I cannot tell you how crazy this was to hear in the most gruff, old Boston accent ever. That guy is a doctor. A doctor. He's supposed to be an upstanding member of the community. I'm kicking his ass out. He then asked me what had happened. I gave him the bones of the story, and he was pissed. He swore up and down he was tired of host's shit, that this wasn't the first issue he'd had with him renting out his place, that he's rude to all the neighbors and something about his friends' cars taking up parking spots and blocking driveways. He said it's tough as shit to evict somebody if they are still paying rent, but if he managed it he'd send me and my girlfriend the $150 in a few months. He said he'd take it out of host's deposit. I told him he didn't have to do that, but he swore he'd do it. Mission accomplished. I never did hear back from landlord, which is probably for the best, since I figured he'd probably need the money to cover whatever fees are associated with kicking somebody out who refuses to leave. The listing did get taken down a few days later, though. My girlfriend ended up getting on a bus and spending the weekend camping out with me in the beautiful northeast forests, and we got the van fixed the last day she was there. We drove back to big city for her flight in style, blasting nostalgia music and cursing host's name. I texted host a few months later from a Google phone number not associated with me and asked him how his phone was doing. He responded saying he had to get a new phone, so he didn't have any numbers saved. Who is this? I never got confirmation. that I ruined this guy's life, but I know I at least ruined his day and kept him from making any more money off travelers. Which, if I'm being honest, punishment probably fits the crime. Maybe next time he'll think about it before he steals $150 from a broke couple with more than enough time to put up with his bullshit. TL. Doctor, Airbnb host pulling some shady shit takes advantage of my dumbest mistake. Screws me out of $150. I rendered his phone/ML useless and hopefully got him evicted. At the very least he was in big trouble with his landlord. Don't break into our shed if you like your hand so. For context, my family's house has a fairly big garden, which is surrounded mostly by a fence, with a wall between us and our neighbors. Between the old fence and the wall, there was a gap thinly covered by ivy, which could be used as an alternative way out to the two gates, both of which lead out onto a fairly busy road. Our shed is opposite this gap. Anyway, this group of thieves that must have been local, they never used vehicles of any kind, had been breaking into our shed, stealing stuff like tools and equipment, and using this gap in the wall as a quick way out, as they didn't have to risk exiting via the gate and onto the road, where they could be spotted. They would usually enter via the gate, go straight to the shed, and exit through the gap. We put up a fence, but due to the location of the gap and the size of the fence, they could easily just pull themselves over it and get away. We moved all of our tools into the house and bought stronger padlocks, but they would just keep on breaking into the shed and trashing the place if they didn't find anything. We put an alarm in, only to have it broken with a hammer. It reached a point where we were having to fix the shed almost weekly, as they would cut the lock or just break down the door. We had just had enough, so we hatched a plan to seal the gap for good. Firstly, my dad and I bought a set of carpet grippers. If you've never encountered these things before, what they are long strips of wood with small spikes on the top that you place down in a room to hold the carpet in place. Here's a picture for context if you're not following. We then screwed 4 of these things to the fence, 1 in the middle, 3 along the top, where you'd pull yourself up from. We also put up a warning sign about sharp objects, just so that we could say they had sufficient warning if they tried to sue. The weak spot was now lined with more spikes than a cactus. Anyway, a few nights later, we were all woken up by a massive scream after vaguely hearing a few thumps from the shed. We went over to the gap, and lo and behold, one of the thieves was there, on the ground, with his hands torn to shreds. He'd tried to pull himself over the wall with a running jump, and his hands had landed right on top of the spikes. We reckon he'd slipped as well, as it looked like his gloves had long tears in them. Long story short, he was arrested for breaking and entering, and had to have his palms stitched back together. We had no problems, as we had put up signs warning people about the sharp objects, and the police simply told us to use more visible deterrents such as barbed wire. We've had no break-ins, as word must have spread fast and the people who were targeting the shed must have heard about the lack of an escape route. TL. Doctor, thief kept on breaking into our shed, so we put up a special bit of security that shredded his hands. Thank you all for watching to the end of the video. But before you go, please like and subscribe for more. Not many of you at all that watch are subscribed or like the video, and this makes me unsure if I should continue to make more content or not. So if you want more content, please like and subscribe. If you don't want to miss out on any future videos, click the bell icon next to the subscribe button. Also, please give me some feedback in the comment section about what I can do better, because not many people comment on my videos, so I have no idea of people's opinions of thoughts about this YouTube channel. So yeah, that's all from me. If you have subscribed and liked the video, please consider sharing the video with your friends. Thanks and bye. I'm still doing daily uploads, so hope to see you in tomorrow's video. Bye.